Greetings, BUSN-1360 Software Apps for Business Students. I'm Dr. McGrory, and today is a great day because we are starting Chapter 1 of PowerPoint, and this is fun. You're going to find that a lot of the skills that you have learned throughout our course are going to carry over into PowerPoint. So you're going to be very at home, and you may be a little familiar with PowerPoint already. Sometimes students are, but by the time we finish our study on PowerPoint, you're going to be amazed at all the things that it can do. In your social activities, maybe your community organizations, as well as professionally, even for small business owners, salespeople, finance people, you name it. There's a great application for PowerPoint for you. So let's get started. Now, of course, I have created my PowerPoint folder on my desktop. And I hope your desktop looks like mine, where you have completed all these chapters so far. And if I open my PowerPoint folder, you'll see that I've already downloaded my PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to work on and the solution file. And you know I like to look at that solution file. Look how beautiful this is. It looks like we have a health journey or a health club maybe, and we've got 10 weeks to go through, or that we're trying to sell people on this. So we're going to talk about their diet journey and what they need to do. This is page 2. Now, this is an Adobe Acrobat PDF, and you can save your PowerPoint presentations into this type of file, which makes it very easy for people to read. So we've got a diet journey, we've got an exercise journey for this 10-week sales pitch perhaps that we're doing. We've got rest, regular bedtime, early start. And as I go through each page, this is page 5, relaxation journey, you see the bullets, and in this case, there's bullets in 2 columns. Here we have family personal time, and we have those bullets. One of the key things about bullets on a slide is you do not want to type your entire presentation. Notice that there's just a few words that serve as a prompt for the speaker to then talk about. If you put too much information on a slide, people will just spend their time reading it and they'll wish you would stop talking because they can't read, right? So this is the last slide. It says only 10 weeks to go. So you see the colors that are on this slide and that first slide, the picture. So that's what our final product is going to look like. Of course, as we go through this, you're going to compare your screen with mine each step along the way so that when you submit, you've got full points, knock on wood, right? But most importantly, that you learn while you earn points. I'm going to double click this file to open it. You know from our studies, you must enable editing because it was a downloaded file. It's from a reliable source, which is SimNet. I apologize. I do have a Camtasia recorder and it's connected to my PowerPoint. So I'm just closing that window. This screen looks familiar but yet different. In the middle, this is our slide. On the side, I see all of the slides that we're going to go through. But so much of this is familiar. We have the home ribbon and insert. We have the name across the top. So let's see what our instructions say. I'm in Chrome. And I've opened the assignment. Of course, I downloaded my start file, my solution file. I have to do the work before I can upload. This is Skill Review 1.2. And what is the case for this? You know, we're using the Windows instructions. Of course, you change to Mac if that's what you're using. In this project, we'll be working on a personal fitness presentation. So first, we're going to clear some formatting and we're going to change some text. So you can read through this. This really is a getting started chapter, so you're not expected to have knowledge of PowerPoint. Look at the skills you're going to learn. Do these sound familiar? Clear formatting. Didn't you learn that in Excel? Apply character effects. Now that might be a new one. Changing fonts and font sizes. That's old school to you, old hat. Change the color of text, work with thumbnails. Now that's a little unique to PowerPoint. Changing from slide layouts. Format Painter. You're familiar with Format Painter. Columns, using find and replace. Adding slides to our presentation. Adding text to those slides. Aligning text. We did a lot of aligning of text in Word as well as in Excel. And then understanding the different views that we have available in PowerPoint. If I scroll up a little bit, we've already opened the file and we've already enabled editing. So let's see what step number 3 is. Step number 3 says we're going to clear formatting from the text on slide 1. We're going to select my health journey and then clear all formatting from the font group. I'm going to move my instructions out of the way. And this looks like page 1. It's slide 1. I can verify that if I look towards the bottom. I also see that I have 7 slides in my presentation. So I have this first one selected. I can select other slides. And as I do, you see that the middle part changes. I'm going back to slide 1. And they've asked us to select my health journey. Now, do you see that my mouse is changing shapes so that it looks like the I-beam when it's over this text? You have learned about objects and how they float above. So, for example, in Word, we added word art, and it wasn't in the body of the document as much as it was sitting on top of that text. Well, PowerPoint, everything is really floating on top. These are all different objects that we can move around and place on our slide. It gives us a lot of flexibility. Well, with my I-beam, I'm going to click. As soon as I click, now my goal is to select this text. As soon as I click, do you see the object? It's got those dots. Remember, those dots tell us what is selected, and that whatever is selected will be affected. So I've got my health journey selected. On the Home tab, we're looking in this font group. Doesn't this look very familiar? You have something extra. You can quickly add a shadow to text, which this text has, so it stands up a little bit. But as I look across, I'm looking for this letter A with the eraser to clear all formatting. So I clicked that. I'm going to click away so that you can see. It's gone back to the default formatting for my slide theme. And you might refer to this as a slide deck, meaning it has your multiple slides inside of it. So my title slide now has the default formatting of my slide deck. Well, let's save that. That process is the same. We completed step 3A and step 3B. On to step 4, apply character effects to text. Now this is kind of new for us. So on slide 1, we're going to verify that that is still selected, and this time we're going to add that shadow. So let me move these out of the way. I'm selecting, again I have my I-beam for this object, and I'm selecting my text. And as I go back towards the Home tab in this font group, this S, so I have bold, italicize, underline, and shadow. Just click that. Do you see the difference? Do you see how there's a little shadow that makes that text pop a little bit? So that's really nice for a slide. Save that. We finished 4A and 4B. Let me scroll up just a little bit. On to step 5. It says change the font size for my health journey, and we're going to change it to size 40. Now, in a paper, this would be way too big. You're used to sizes like 12 and 14. But remember that in a PowerPoint presentation, you need those people in the back of the room to be able to see your message. So I've selected that text. Across here at the top, this is my point size. I'm going to select 40. You can also type a size. And in PowerPoint, that can be really handy because there's big jumps between, 36 and 40 and 44. So you might need, 42, and you can certainly type that in that box. Save that. This is just an introduction to PowerPoint. and you are moving quickly through it because these skills are familiar to you. Step 6, let me scroll up just a little. Step 6, change the font color. Once again, we're going to select that text on the Home tab. In the font color, we're going to use one of our theme colors, which is gray, accent 6, lighter, 80%. And it says, listen, it's the last option in the second row. So let's move this out of the way. Let's select this text. We're going up to our text coloring tool here. And remember, this is a two-part button, so you want to click the arrow. We have our theme colors here, and it said that it is the last option in the second row. So let me hover over, and yes, that my mouse is blocking that a little bit, but it says gray, accent 6, lighter, 80%. So select that. So my text is selected. Again, I'm clicking away because I want you to be able to see the effects of that. When I clicked away, I accidentally selected another object. So we can see that this text is in a different object. It's a subtitle object. I'm just going to click away so that you can see. And now I'm going to save. And let's go back to the instructions. We finished step 6. On to step 7. Navigate to a slide and change the slide layout. So it says using the thumbnails pane, we're going to click slide 3 to navigate to that slide. And on the Home tab in the Slides group, we're going to click the Slide Layout button and select Title and Content. Well, okay, let's do that. So my thumbnails, these are called thumbnail pictures because they're smaller, right? I can adjust this. Now you can see this dividing line. As I move, I might have to click. I clicked on this side in the slide area. And as I move my mouse across, I have a double-sided arrow. That means if I press, I can drag. So if I need those thumbnails to be larger so that I can work with them more easily or see them more readily, or I can drag this smaller. Sometimes you want it very small because if you've worked with these a lot, you can tell by the general shape of the slide, the text, and maybe pictures that are on it, what that content is, but you don't want your audience to be able to see that. So I'm going to go back to kind of a regular size here. And it said for us to go to the third slide. So when you click that slide, notice that there's a border now around that, meaning it's selected and it shows in this central area, in the large area of my slide. And we're on the Home tab and in the Slides group. So that's this group here. They want us to go to Layout. And when I click this, look at the different types of layouts. This is what the title slide, and we see that blue background on our title slide. If we wanted a different type of title with pictures or title and content, a section header, meaning maybe it's time for a different speaker to come up and this marks the change, or we're changing topics slightly. But they want us to pick title and content, which is in this first row, the third choice. Did you see my slide change? Remember our good old commands, Control-Z, and see how this object was here, and this was our exercise routine. This is another object. This is another object. I'm clicking away. Control-Y to show you again what we did. So what it did is it recognized those components like exercise routine, and when we wanted a different layout, because we had previously put text into the correct components, it understood that this was the title and this was the content. And so those object boxes were moved around, resized, formatted. Isn't that kind of neat? Lots of flexibility to help you make a really great presentation that doesn't look like anybody else's. We're going to have a lot of tools, but you can make something that's truly yours and truly unique. That was step 7. On to step 8. Change the font and change the size of the text. So we're moving on to slide 4, and we see it numbered here in the background. select the items in the bulleted list, and we're going to change the font to Aptos, and in the font we're going to change the size to 36. So make sure you move to slide 4. Sometimes that's the hardest part of the instructions, is making sure you're on the proper slide. We're on slide 4. They want us to select just the bulleted items. Do you see how these are in a different object, a different container? So if I want to select everything, just to bring back some of your skills, Control A. Remember that it selects all inside the object. In Microsoft Word, it's the entire document, the body of the document, right? So here, Control A helps us select all the bulleted items, everything in this container. Up at the top, our font is currently Berlin Sans FB Demi. Well, I'm going to click on the drop-down box, and Aptos is going to be towards the top. If you have trouble finding it, and the fonts on everybody's computers will be different, but if you have trouble finding it, here it is right here, you can type it. So for example, up here, remember, as soon as I click there, it's selected. I could just type Aptos, and make sure you press the Enter key when you're done. So that's the way of selecting that. And then they want the size to be larger. Remember, we need those people on the back row to be able to see. So 36. Save that. And we finished step 8. Let me scroll up a little bit. On to step 9. Use the Format Painter. You remember that tool, that paintbrush, to copy and paste formatting. So what are we going to do? We're going to copy from slide 3, and we're going to, it says place the cursor in the title placeholder. That's where we're going to draw the configurations, the formatting settings up into our paintbrush by selecting that title placeholder on slide 3. And then we're going to change to slide 4, and we're going to click and drag across the word rest. I have a note for you. This is perhaps an important note. In PowerPoint, as you are moving from one slide to another, sometimes the Format Painter will turn off. So remember, when you click the Format Painter once, it is just for one stroke of the paintbrush. You format, you apply the format to one thing. If you double click the Format Paintbrush, it stays on until you tell it to turn off. I find that double clicking is really what is needed. We'll try it with a single click. If that doesn't work, we'll do the double click. So let me move this out of the way, the instructions, and look at the word rest. You can see that it looks different than the other slides, and we don't like that inconsistency. And also, I don't want this to be selected, so I want to come out here. Okay, I just clicked it out of the object. Let's go back to slide 3, and I need to click inside that container, inside that object. So my cursor is flashing inside there. I'm going up to the Home tab, to the Format Painter button. Now I'm going to try clicking it just one time, and then I'm going to change to slide 4. And as I move out, I see my Format Paintbrush attached to my mouse, so I'm going to click and drag. And I did that all in one motion. I pressed down the mouse button, kept it held down, and drug across. If you have difficulty with this, go to slide 3, click inside, double click the paintbrush, now change to slide 4, and this time if you click and let up, it will stay, whoops, I accidentally moved, it will stay on until I either press the button again or I can press the escape key on my keyboard. Save that. We're bringing back some skills that we have used before. We completed step 9. On to step 10. Add columns to placeholders. So we're going to slide 5 this time, and on the Home tab we're going into the paragraph group to click Add or Remove Columns, and we're going to select 2 columns. In other words, we're going to add and make it 2 columns. So let's move this out of the way. And we're going to slide 5. And right now, our column is so long, it's off the slide. So when we start to present this, that last bullet is not going to display. Also, when you get too far down on the slide, again, people in the back cannot see. If there's any obstruction, somebody seated in front of the person, then they can't see. So this is no good the way that it is. So let's see, we're going to click in this. Oh, look at that. It's even far beyond the container. See how I can see the container? And the text is way outside of that. So on the Home tab, which we're on, this time we're going all the way across to the paragraph group, and we're looking for the Add Remove Columns button. Many of these buttons are familiar with us. Left align, center, right align, justified text, even some of the bulleted and numbered list. But as we continue across, this button says Add or Remove Columns. Now, it's a 2-part button. I'm going to click on this drop-down box. Here I can select how many columns, and as I hover over it, I have not selected it yet. I just hover over 2 columns. I can get a preview of what that will look like when I click on it. So click on it, 2 columns. Excellent. This looks so much better, much more clear. Save that. Back to our instructions. We did this. On to step 11. It says use the find command. So on the Home tab in the editing group, we're going to use find, and we're going to type routine. And in the find what, we're going to basically be looking for that word routine. And it says with the word routine still selected, we're going to type the word journey. So what do you think is going to happen when we type the word journey? Whatever is selected will be affected. So we're going to be replacing the word routine with journey. Let me move these instructions out of the way. We are currently on slide 5. So in previous studies, whether it was in Word or in Excel, we noticed that when we did a find, when we were searching for something, it started from where we were. So oftentimes we went back to slide number 1. Well, they did not tell us to change the slide that was selected, so we're going to start from slide 5. But with this slide selected, now not over here selected, but with this selected, I can press Control Home. Isn't that a familiar keyboard command? And look what slide is selected. Now, remember I had my thumbnails selected. I did not have the actual slide selected. They didn't tell us to do that. I wanted you to be aware of that. So I'm going to go back to slide number 5. And I'm on the Home tab. And as I continue across, we're going to this Find and Replace button. It opens a panel, a little different than Word because it's opening it on the right side rather than the left side. Excel would tend to pop open a box, a dialog box. This is okay. In Find What, I'm going to move my mouse out of the way. They wanted us to type routine. Well, there it was right there on slide 5. So we didn't have to look for that at all. But if you'll notice, it says 3 of 3. And see these arrows? I'm going to arrow down. And look at that, it changed. I'm now on slide 2. And it's got the word selected. If I do it again, I'm now on slide 3, and it has that word selected. And if I click my down arrow again, I'm on slide 5. So they did not instruct us to move to a certain slide before starting that. We had been working on slide 5. So I'm assuming this is the word they want replaced. It is currently selected, so when I type the word, see, this is what I was wondering. When I type the word journey, it doesn't really understand because it's been searching. So I'm going to click on slide 5 again. Oops, what happened? I'm going to undo, Control Z. There it is. Something happened and my word got deleted. So I'm going to make sure that this word is selected, and more importantly, that this window or this object is active. So if you need to click in this word, you may need to double click to select it. And I'm replacing it with the word journey. Here's another tip, and I've cautioned you on this before. Notice this is in uppercase, but I did not type it in uppercase. The reason it's in uppercase is because if I look at font, and remember the launcher, I can see that this is a setting, all caps. Well, that's nice, but if I change the style of my presentation and I no longer want all caps on that, see how I removed it? Don't do this, I'm just showing you, and I'm clicking OK. Well, nothing was selected. Let me do that again. Whatever is selected will be affected. Because I typed this in proper case, I capitalized that word J. For that reason, when I removed that formatting, the capitalization is correct. You never know, you might change something later on. So if you would, even if you're using all caps, type that in the proper case so that if you decide to change something later on, the capitalization will be correct. So I changed that, saved that, and we learned some things along the way. We did a good job. Let's go ahead and mark step 11 as complete. Scrolling up, on to step 12. So in step 12, we're going to use the replace command. And as I look at these instructions, it says we're going to locate the word routine. Remember, it was on multiple slides. And we're going to replace that with the word journey. In our business, maybe we feel it's much better to say that we're on a journey than we have to do a routine, right? We don't like those routines. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do replace all. So let's move these instructions out of the way. We still have our find and replace panel over here on the side. Your instructions right now say that there's a separate button. Remember that 365 is a subscription. We're on the 2024 release, which is very new, and I suspect that this panel might be an update that has very recently been pushed into PowerPoint 2024. If you happen to have a separate replace button, you can certainly use that. I'm having this panel over here. I could match the case, I could match the whole word, but I'm just searching for routine, and I'm clicking where it says replace with. I'm going to type journey, and right now it says that there are 2 of 3, but remember we changed slide 5 already so that it no longer reads routine. It already says journey. So I'm clicking replace all, and look at that, it changed from 2 of 3 to 0 of 0, but let's double check. I remember that being on slide 2. Yep, diet journey, not a diet routine. Slide 3, exercise journey. I like that. It makes me feel better about the exercise that I need to do. Save that. Let's go back to the instructions, and we have finished step 12. On to step number 13. Using those thumbnails over on the side, we're going to go to slide 11. And then we're going to add a new slide, and we're going to use this layout, this closing slide layout. So let me move this out of the way. If I go down towards the bottom, remember that slide 7 is my very last slide. So I've clicked it. I see it over here in the main window of my PowerPoint, but I have slide 7 selected. It's got that border that goes around it. And up at the top on the Home tab, here's my new slide option, and this is a 2-part button. I can just simply add a slide that's like this one with the title and the bullets, or I can select what kind of slide I wish to add. And I want to add this closing slide, very colorful. Click that. So because I had slide 7 selected, it added this slide after slide 7. So now I have 8 slides, and this is my very last slide. Going back to my instructions, We did step 13, on to step 14. It says in the title placeholder, we're going to type only 10 weeks to go. Let me move this out of the way. Well, here's the placeholder. I have to click in there to add my text, and I'm typing only 10 weeks to go. Yay! Save that. Isn't this fun and fast? You have learned so many skills along the way. There's not a lot of additional things to learn. We're just applying those skills in a different environment. So let's look at step 17. Change the font size. Select that text you just typed. On the Home tab in the font group, we're going to change the font size to 54. Move this out of the way. I will add one piece of knowledge here. Right now, I see the dots on the outside of the container of this object. So if I go to my font size and I select 54, whoops, but see my cursor is now flashing inside there. So I think I didn't actually have the object selected. My point is, if I select, see how I have four-sided arrow? We remember that. If I have the entire object selected and I make a formatting change, there we go, it will apply to everything in that container. However, I also have the option, I'm going to Control Z to undo that. I also have the option to select a portion of that, and I could change only that to 54. See the difference? What is selected will be affected. I can select a portion of the text and change the color, change the font, change, bold, italicized, shadow. Or I can select the object as we've learned in the past, and whatever setting I apply applies to everything in that object. How about that? That was step 15. I'm going to scroll up. On to step 16. Change the font color. Verify the text only 10 weeks to go is still selected. And on the Home tab in the font group, click the font color, and this time we're going to make it gold, accent 4, lighter 80%. And it says it's the third option from the right. So okay, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to make sure I select the text. I triple clicked. That selected all that text, that paragraph of text. And in the font color on the Home tab, we are looking for the third option from the right in the second row. So this one, my mouse hides this a little bit. Gold, accent 4, lighter 80%. That's it. I'm going to click away so that we can see. It's a very subtle difference. Very subtle, right? Gold, accent 4, lighter. Save that. And back to the instruction. Scroll up a little bit. Look how fast we're going. Step 17, align text. So with the text selected on the Home tab, we're going to center it within the object, within that little container. And then, so in the paragraph group, we're going to use the Align Text button and select Middle. Okay, so we're selecting the text, and we're going to center it, but is that vertical or horizontal? Remember in Excel how we learned that cell has, up and down and left and right for centering? So here we have to center horizontally and center vertically. Let's move these instructions out of the way. We're still with the text still selected, it said. So we're still working with this text, and across the top here, we are choosing, see this button in the middle. This is our center. Now watch what happens to the text. It's centered horizontally within the container. Here's a trick. If you want your text centered across the entire slide, make the container the width of the slide. So you can resize, and you know how to resize an object. You can resize that so it's as big as your slide, and then when you center, it will be centered on the slide. But we're not done yet. They said we also need to align the text to the middle. Coming up towards the top here, you see our different buttons. We looked at the columns earlier. We're looking up here, that's line spacing. As I move across, align text. So that's a little tricky to find. It's underneath this A up here where we can change the text direction. There's so much you can do in PowerPoint. Click on that button. You'll see options top, middle, bottom. So we want middle. How about that? That moved our text to the middle of the container of the object. Save that. Back to the instructions. Step 18, which is about our last step. Switch to slideshow view and then return back to normal view. In the thumbnails pane, they say select slide 1, and then on the status bar, we'll go to slideshow. And it says, and this is key here, press the escape key to get back to this editing view. I'm going to tell you a couple little tricks here because they're important. I'm going to save, have we saved this? Let's save this. I see people do this all the time. There is a keyboard shortcut. If you press F5, this is your slideshow. Notice that it immediately went to slide 1. We did not select slide 1. It immediately went to slide 1. To get out of this slideshow, if you will just click the escape key, and notice that now slide 1 is selected. So this is what I see people do very frequently, and it's great if you are beginning the presentation. But this is what I see people do. They have really started through their presentation quite a bit. Maybe they're actually all the way to slide 5. And they're doing their presentation. Right, so I'm on slide 5, I'm in my slideshow view, and somebody says, can you go back? Well, there's a couple ways to do this. One way is if they say to the previous slide, I didn't get to ask you a question and you advanced. Use the backspace key on your keyboard. I'm sorry, I need to make this the active window. Use the backspace key. Every time you press backspace, you will go back one slide. But if they are saying something, and if you press your enter key or your mouse button, you will go forward in your slides. So backspace takes you back. Arrow keys do the same type thing. You can arrow forward or arrow back. You can also use the space bar to go forward. And you say, why do I need to know these? Look at the enter key on your keyboard. Oftentimes, if you have a number pad, it's very close to the right edge, which makes it easy to locate. It's much easier than arrow keys. So the enter key takes me forward. Again, backspace takes me back. The space bar is conveniently low down, so it's another key that's very easy. It's large. It's easy to use to advance your slides. Okay, there's my last one. If I get to the very end, the screen goes dark, which I kind of like, right? Okay, I just use backspace to go back, or you could use a back arrow. Here's what I was saying, though. When I'm going to press my escape key to get into this, and when you are this far into your slides, and someone says, can you go back to slide 1? Or, can you go back? What people will do is they'll press escape so that you can just click right through your presentation. And if you learn to do the F5 key, function F5, it's the function key, you will always start with slide 1, and your audience will have to endure it as you sit here and go, wait, okay, let's see, is it this one? Let me, wait, okay, and it's going to look terrible, okay, while you're struggling with your presentation. So I want you to know what your book is trying to tell you. If you are already, I'm going to select slide 4, and you just simply want to start the presentation at slide 4. Remember in Excel when you learned that you could change views down in the status bar down here at the bottom? Look at this. Is this not great? These are different views, just like you learned in Excel. So this view here is the normal view. We see the slide in the middle. We see thumbnails on the side. And at the bottom, this is where, and we're going to learn about this later, you can add speaker notes, like those little index cards that you sometimes would use, to help you stay on task. This is much better. Speaker notes, much better. Or, see the little 4 square to the side? This is called slide sorter. Click that. This is like laying all your slides out so that you can move them around for your speech. You decide that slide 3 should come before slide 2. Very easy to drag and drop them around from this view. Or there's the next view, which is the reading view. I have to say I really don't use this view. Let me go back to normal. Okay, but that's there for you. You may find that you love the reading view. That's all right. Here's the button I want to show you. See the slideshow view? It looks like a projector on a stand. That's what that's supposed to look like. If I click this, whatever slide, I'm going to go back to slide 4. If I am on slide 4 and I click this button, I start the presentation at slide 4. It's immediate. It's fast. Escape takes me out. This button takes me back. Escape takes me out. The slideshow button takes me back in. Escape takes me out. Some people also, I will see them going through the menus. And let's see, they'll say it's slideshow, not now, right? And they navigate through. They're different, do I start from the beginning, start from the current slide? Okay, I'm done with that presentation. This is too much navigation and you're making your audience kind of come through too much. You want to look good and confident and professional when you give a presentation. So just click that slideshow button. You're back in your presentation at the slide that you had selected. So it's a great tool to know. You have your enter key, your space bar, your arrow keys to, that you can move forward. Arrow keys will take you backwards. The backspace key is a large key and it will also take you backwards. So I hope that helps. I'm going to press escape and I don't know which slide. I'll select slide 1. I think that's where they want us to be, and I'll click on save and back to the instructions. Well, we did this. We looked at thumbnails. We selected slide 1. On the status bar, we learned about the slideshow button. And now we need to save, close, get completely out of PowerPoint so we can upload this for grading. So let's do it. Save this. I always like to just double check that I've saved it. I'll close it. And this is my window here where I can submit this file. I'm just going to move it over a little bit so that I can drag and drop it into my Chrome browser. I'm at the last instructions. I'm clicking at the bottom, Control Home to quickly go to the top. And here's my window with my PowerPoint file. Click, drag, drop. All right, are we ready for this grading? Yes, submit. We're getting ready. Woohoo! 100%, 100%. So that's wonderful. One thing that also tells you is that it graded selecting the entire object and changing the font. In this case, the same as if we selected the text. And that's because it was everything inside the container. So you learned while you earned some points and you made a beautiful PowerPoint slide. So thank you, folks. You're going to love PowerPoint. Continue with your studies, and I'll see you in PowerPoint Chapter 2.